Amongst this serenity will be the titanic battle of pan versus sluice. G'day, it's Jason here from In Search of Australia. I braved the cold again to test the efficacy of just using a pan or using a sluice. I've had many people comment on panning's faster, and the only thing about the sluice is that it's a bit relaxing, but I'm actually going to time the same amount of material and see what's actually true. Now, of course, the first problem being where the gold isn't necessarily where you can set up a sluice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my sluice up, find my gold area, fill the bucket with material, and I'll pan and sluice in exactly the same spot. So that way it's not unfair for the sluice. The sluice I'm using is the 8-inch gold rat. So we have to take into account that there are bigger sluices, and this one I've got because it's so portable. But is it worth carrying around with me? That's the question. Because my gloves are still frozen, I'm going to start with the sluice. So as I said, I'm going to start with the sluicing just because I don't want my hands in the water as long as possible. And it's not so much about how much gold I get, more than the amount of material I move. So I may as well get started. So what I'm doing is I'm actually just digging as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And I'm going to do half a bucket and sluice it, see how long that takes. And then do half a bucket and pan that and see how long that takes. So what I've done is I've stopped when the bucket classifier can't sit properly in the bucket anymore. So it's going to be my measurement. Now the obvious benefit to the sluice is I get to just sit on my butt and slowly feed it. Now this is probably the slowest part, is making sure that you don't just dump it in. With such a small sluice, it can just build up a bit too fast. This wasn't really a video about how much gold I can get, but I haven't even really scratched the surface of the bucket. I'll show you the sluice. There's heaps of gold here. Now, of course, the last part of the sluice is doing the final pan. So this is still part of the timing. Gold at the bottom of the bucket. Still gold at the bottom of the bucket. Not bad for half a bucket. So that took me 35 minutes. This has definitely become an essential item when you're in water that is just above 0 degrees, I'm pretty sure. It's very, very nice to sit by it. So there you go, when you dump seeds in the creek, they may germinate. I think they're watermelons. Very stunted watermelons. For the panning test, I'm going to add 1 minute to the total time because I'm going to pan right near where I'm digging. It took about 1 minute to walk up to the sluice with the material, so just adding that will be pretty much the same. Okay, I got half a bucket again. I'm predicting this is going to be much faster. I think with panning, it all depends on your confidence. I sort of feel generally confident in panning, so I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I do feel I can do it pretty quick. One problem, I left the snuffer bottle somewhere else. And I guess that's the pause in panning that you're going to have, is you've got to snuffle each one. I guess I could make this more efficient by just tipping these into another pan and then finishing later, but that's not really a fair experiment. So the sluice, you have to sort of slow down to evenly distribute your material into the sluice. Here I can just dump it in the pan. I'm getting gold really early on, so there's a lot in here. And this might be the point the panning slows down. Well, it's a surprising result. It's even. Exactly. I feel that I got slowed down with the pan because I actually had quite a lot of gold in it, and the moment you've got lots of gold in a pan, you have to actually slow down and just be a bit more gentle when you're finishing off or getting towards the bottom. So I'll show you the total takings. The majority came from what I panned though. This is probably one of my best results within an hour and 1 bucket of material. It's quite a lot of nice pieces there. Lots of tiny bits. It actually became really awkward to pan. I had to be really careful. This was a surprise. In 1 hour and 1 bucket, I got 1.3 grams of gold. Very nice. So it wasn't a bad bit of gold that I got in the time that I spent here. But my conclusion for pan versus sieve, in this case, they were about the same. However, when I started digging up material for the pan, there was a lot more gold, and that actually slowed me down because I was taking a little bit more care when I'd see gold appear. So confidence in letting the sieve do the job probably overrides the pan. However, the pan's far more flexible, and I think if I hadn't been in the same situation with a lot of gold, this would have been faster. So I'd say inconclusive in this situation. You can't control that variable, what we call gold. You can get it or not, and that probably affected my test here.